Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is episode 2 of the Insomniac podcast, and this one is about learned behavior. Like, and during this week, I forget when, or previously, for like 3 or 4 months back, they started the GoFundMe for Trump's wall, and they raised $20 million. Right? That's a fucking lot of money. 20 million. So what happened was they they realized like, hey, listen, they raised $20 million for a wall that preached nothing but xenophobia and racism against Mexican and people of color and people of other ethnicities, whatever. But the people of Flint, Michigan, still has those rusted out pipes, still don't have clean drinking water. The people in Puerto Rico still have issues with their power being out and still have difficulties from the hurricane that hit. And they were saying it's like, how the fuck do you go on to GoFundMe and scroll past all these people who need help for clean drinking water, electricity, fucking, transplants, bills paid, houses. Like, how do you go through all this and still decide to send money? And it got me to thinking, well, is this just clear, blatant racism? And if it is, where does it come from? And so I decided to look up some thinking again. Some thinking, some thinking, what is it? What's the word? Some thinking scenarios. And these are all pretty much to prove that everyone, to prove whether being a good, wholesome individual is normal, the natural inclination, or is bigotry and hatred, that's a learned behavior. And thinking, one thinking game or philosophy, whatever the fuck it's called, I forget the name of it. But thought experiment. One thought experiment that caught my eye was the baby in the well. And the whole simple concept is, if you were to walk into a village and you seen a baby walking around the rim of a well, would you run over and grab it? And why? And it was made up in like ancient China or Japan or one of them. And the thought process was that everybody would, upon seeing a baby in the in a moment of of danger, would rush to help this kid, whether the kid was black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, because we all want the best for the baby, and that's everybody. That's so. If we can all share that kind of concern for a child of any race, whatever, why can't we be that way for our fellow men, our fellow individuals? And it brought my thinking into that. That's because hatred, bigotry, racism, that's learned, and it's learned by it's either passed down or it's learned in small circles, small areas. Yeah, that's why if you ever come across people, hey, well, have you ever been around somebody black? If they're deeply involved, if they have run off against people of color, they've run into them toward the later end of their lives. Because it's easy to hate someone that you never met. It's way harder to hate someone if all the previous experience you've had have been good, have been pleasant, have been nice. Hell, I knew a dude when I was in the army. He used to have those Nazi symbol tattoos, whatever, the swastikas and all that shit. And when I said like, hey man, what changed your mind? Because again, I don't want to fall for the I'm your friend until it get dark and ha, I got you, nigga. So I'm trying to figure out like, hey, what changed your mind to it? And what changed? He's like, oh, well, it was easy. He said, well, one, after I got out of jail or whatever the fuck bullshit he had going on, he needed somewhere to go. He needed some help, and nobody helped him out. And the only people who did happened to be black. And he's like, well, look, if these motherfuckers, well, not these motherfuckers, but if these people did that, did me a solid like that, how can I hate them? And if these people are good, how can I hate anybody else that looks like them? And that was just what changed his thinking. And I understand that, but just the same reason of like, how can, when it also takes into account that there was a comedian, Patrice O'Neal, and he was like, well, you know the only reason why black people can't get over slavery? Because in almost every, let me not say in every, but we'll use the Jews in the Holocaust for this example. All the Jews can be pointed at one person that'll determine, like, oh, if it wasn't for him, then the Holocaust wouldn't have happened. Like with all people of Jewish descent, they can point at Hitler. Like, man, if Hitler wasn't born, it got so, Hitler was such a bad motherfucker. They actually had the thought, like, if you can go in the past, if you could travel in the past, would you go back to when Hitler was a baby and kill him, and then that way you could save whatever? So, like, he was such a bad motherfucker that they actually thought up killing Hitler as a kid, and that was, But Patrice O'Neal got distracted. Patrice O'Neal's thought was that because you could point the Holocaust at one person, it makes it easier to separate everybody else from that one person. And the reason why, blacks, Native Americans, all people who were done dirty by, white colonialists or whatever the fuck, colonizers, whatever, is because we can't point at one motherfucker and be like, it was his fault. He's the motherfucker who did it. And it doesn't make sense. Like, it's hard as shit to fucking fix it. It's hard as shit to fix a problem when you don't know what caused the problem. Well, don't worry about the problem. Just fix it. Like, how the fuck are we gonna fix it? With that, and there's a whole bunch of government systems that were set up to fucking institute and maintain the discrepancy among people of color and everybody. It's a whole big thing. I'm just breaking down simple goddamn, as simply as I can for a motherfucker who A, don't read much, and B, honestly just really don't, like, let me not say I don't give a fuck, but I don't have a time machine to go back and then just see which was the first motherfucker to go in the air room. Like, they look strong enough to build a nation. Fuck it. Take them. Like, what the fuck? But anyway, I'm getting distracted here. But they were like everyone knows and everyone knows the classic thought experiment of, there's a train coming down the line and you have 5 people on the left track and 1 person on the right, and you have the button and you have the little train crank, but you cranked it so that way you can save the 5 people who's tied to the belt, who's tied to the tracks, and kill the 1, or would you not touch it and then kill the 5 and the 1 gets to live? And it's pretty much the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. But then it's also, you can go more in depth of, if instead of a crank that would go left or right, let's say it was a person big enough that when you push him on the tracks, it'll derail the train. Would you still push him to save those people? I added a little stipulation of, sure, it's 1 versus 5, but that 1 person is your brother or your mother or your father or a loved one. Because the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few only works if that 1 person isn't someone important to you. Like, say what you want. Say what you want about all people, but even cops take care of their own more than they take care of regular citizens. It is what it is. I'm not fucking officer down goes out over the radio, everybody comes running. Of all the crimes that are committed, the ones that involve police, those are the ones that they go looking for a motherfucker to be guilty of. That's just how it goes. So it's not necessarily the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. if the needs of the motherfucker who I give a fuck about the outweigh. But yeah, I looked up a couple more thought experiments, and I'm gonna share the one that I thought, the one that I'm gonna share what I think, or I'm gonna read the little scenario, and then I'm gonna give you my appeal on the shit. All right, there's a thought experiment called the experience machine. So follow along with me. The thought experiment. The experience machine is a special device that can give you any experience you would like. You want to be a famous jockey or a writer? Would you like to have many friends? The machine would make you believe it's really happening, while you're in reality floating in a tank, electrodes attached to your brain. Would you plug into this machine for your life? Your life would be pre-programmed to maximize pleasure, but while plugged in, you would think it's real. Now, whew, this one is it's fucking easy to me. I wouldn't do it because life isn't supposed to be all rainbows and sunshine and all that good shit. You gotta have a little bit of sadness. You gotta have a little bit of darkness to experience to know. You gotta experience the lows to know your highs. You know what I mean? You can't just no, I'm just gonna fucking I'm gonna be a winner 100% of the time. Nah, fuck that. Besides, yeah. I heard that from Bob Ross. It was like, oh yeah, the episode he made right after his wife died is you gotta experience a little bit of the darkness to know the light, to know when you're experiencing light. I get it. I understand that. It personally makes sense to me. But the significance of that particular thought experiment is, what is happiness? Philosophers have debated this question, asking whether happiness is more than pleasure intuitively. It seems that pleasure might be sufficient for happiness. This position is called hedonism. But the experience machine thought experiment challenged this idea. If pleasure was enough, you plug yourself into the machine in a heartbeat. But most of us will hesitate. This is because, according to Novick, because we want more out of life. We have projects and life goals. Being plugged into the machine, taking a fake life, is not a way to fulfill those. This would seem to suggest that hedonism is wrong. The third thing is, like, if pleasure is enough, like, everybody wants to win. What is it? Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody want to die. It's the same principle. Like, sure, I can give you, I can give you everything you want, but it's not real. It's not, you didn't earn it. It's not, personally, I'm a fan of hedonism, but just in parts. Like, not 100%. Not 100%. I don't want fucking in the streets. But if you want to tie your partner up to a ceiling fan, and then as they go around, you just swipe their pussy with your tongue, that's fine. That's your business. Who am I to judge? But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. But the next one up. Yeah. None of these are fucking good. None of these are really fucking good. So fuck that. But yeah, I know I'm getting off on all these different circumstances and all this stuff. But on learned behavior, because it was because I go on social media and I go through pictures of Tumblrs and all this shit. And I seen this one of this kid who was dressed up like a Ku Klux Klan member. And I'm like, and because she was dressed up like a Ku Klux Klan member, but she was tapping on like one of the black police shields. And it's like, motherfucker, she don't understand what the uniform is. She don't understand what the fuck she's supposed to be doing. So it's an indoctrination. It's just like it was a comedian, Bill Burr. He was talking about religion. And he said I think he was watching Lutherans, and it was like, well, and apparently, I'm guessing, again, I could be wrong. Like, Lutherans believe that when you die, you're just dead. Fuck it. There's nothing else. When you're dead, you're dead. Game over. Whatever. So he said, and I was listening to it, and it was like, well, it didn't make sense to me. But he said, it's like, yeah, but it didn't make sense to me, and I believe that there's a all-seeing man in the sky that will judge me on whether I'm good or bad just because I heard the story first. So his logic is, is that because he was exposed to this one story first from a long time, indoctrinated over time, daily or weekly or however long or however often he went to church, and then he progressed on into a certain age, and now it's just an inherited belief. It's not nothing based off a decision he made, which is why most people who are, let me not say most, some people who go through church early in life, strictly and extensively through life, that when they have crisis of faith or they break from their faith, they break hard because I didn't choose to do this. What is it? I didn't. Yeah, I wasn't. I didn't choose to be Batman. I was born into the darkness. I want to be Batman, but you raising me to be Bane. I mean, it makes sense. Makes sense to me. So fuck you. But so because of because of indoctrination over a long period of time, that these principles of superiority, discrimination, racism, sexism, xenophobia, whatever hatred of anybody different than you, it comes from being indoctrinated into thinking that that's the okay way to think, which can break down into numerous different circumstances of toxic masculinity, sexual harassment. Because even then, like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. It used to be a time where a motherfucker, like, I actually have a line, and this is me personally. I actually have a line where I would say to a woman, "Listen, you have to tell me no 100 times. I got to get you to say yes once." And fucking having knowing what I know now, that's fucking horrible. That's not taking no as a final fucking answer. No, not yet. No, not yet. No. And it's fucking creepy because again, if somebody was to take my if I was to have a kid one day and they would have said well, look, I told him I didn't like him. He just keep coming back day after day after day. He's trying to wear me down. I would fuck that child up. Like, but yeah, but it's just something that it's a learned behavior. You have to learn if you learn to do something if you learn to do something in a fucked up way, or you learn something that's fucked up, you can unlearn it. If you want to do better, if you want to be better, you can. You got to make the attempt, but you also got to be willing to realize, like, hey, listen, maybe what I thought, maybe what I was raised up to believe is wrong, and that in and of itself is absolutely frightening. Because if you tell me I built my house on fucking sinking sand, and I don't want to realize that, or I have to look for myself, I have to verify, and I have to go inside and realize that I fucked this up. It's a fucking it's throwing all you were raised and all you were taught to believe, throwing that shit away, and not everybody can build to take that shit. How many times do you have motherfucker? Prime example. Now again, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but there's an episode, I think like maybe one of the first episodes of Rick and Morty, where Morty went into the bathroom and that jelly bean was trying to sexually assault him, and it come to find out that he was King Jelly Bean, whatever. So after Rick shoots him and kills him, the rest of the kingdom, I think his advisors, they find his box of pictures, and it's a fucking shit ton of the shit that he did to other kids that were not lucky enough to escape him. And they fucking took a match and burned him, and they said, let's not remember him for who he is, but let's remember him for what we thought he was. And it's the same principle. If you were raised in a house where, and again, I'm not indemnifying, I'm not saying it's okay. If you were raised in a house where women they weren't respected, they were property. If your mom said something sideways to your dad, he would uppercut her. You raise up thinking that it's okay to uppercut a motherfucker every now and again. And then once you realize, like, hey, that's not okay, and you gotta really rethink. You gotta rethink the way you talk, the way you act, and the way you behave. And you gotta consistently think about that shit, because if you don't, because it's a conscious, up until you truly the only way to know you change is because it's no longer a conscious thought of not doing what comes naturally to your mind. And again, I could be reading way too much into this. I could be, but I believe, I believe that the only way to find out whether you truly are changed or you truly are, a better person is if you no longer have to, if you're no longer a conscious decision to do the right thing. It's no longer. You ever want to feel like, oh man, you know what? I gotta get over. Ooh, I used to be jealous. I used to be a jealous and controlling guy, and it took me up until I could trust that I had to take into account like I'm not trusting I'm not trying to trust these other guys to stay with my girl. I'm trusting my girl to turn down these other guys. And once that thought hit me, it no longer became a thing of, hey, I want to go out. Go ahead, go out. I got you. Oh, I want to, go out there and talk to this friend. All right, go ahead, go out and talk to him. I don't mind because I trusted the person. That's a learned behavior. Because again, I didn't know. I thought if I used to think like if I didn't like a motherfucker, she didn't like a motherfucker. That's not unfair. Unfair, and it's like saying you can't have your own personal interests, you can't have your own personal friends. Nah, it's not the case. But hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. I've enjoyed sharing my thoughts with you, and if you liked it, comment. I answer all comments, and I answer all comments. And if you have any ideas or suggestions, send them in. Thank you. This has been the Insomniac podcast. Thank you and goodbye. Peace.